What kind of a hand have we been dealt as women today, and how can we best play it? It's a large question that's always lurking in the background, and since the answers aren't obvious, I find women's lives to be immediately suspenseful and interesting. Don't you? Wait a minute. Who am I? I'm Abigail L. Rosenthal, Professor of Philosophy Emerita at Brooklyn College of the City University of New York, and while my advice has always been not to take my advice, I do write a weekly blog I call Dear Abbie, the Non-Advice Column. And so, dear listener, I invite you to pull up a chair at this virtual cafe table, no matter your gender, age, convictions, or style of life.
Married Philosophers Discuss Confessions. Part 1 continued. Married philosophers Jerry L. Martin and Abigail L. Rosenthal discuss her newest book, Confessions of a Young Philosopher. In this episode, the focus widens beyond the immediate experience to what it reveals about women's lives more broadly, how vulnerability, expectation, and silence shape what can be said publicly, and what must be managed privately. We hope you enjoy the episode.
Phidias was what you might call an almost extreme example of the French modern taking over of the Tristan story, so that it has its own self-enclosed absoluteness, but put inside the modern framework, it's of biochemical origin. It's basically on the psychical plane, on the mental plane, on the plane of consciousness, a delusion. And like any delusion, it asks that you wake up from it. No. So the two coexist, and I guess, sort of against both. I'm flattered by the idealization component, but I don't want it framed by this reductionist theory, which seems to be the latest modern version of the Tristan paradigm.
And you say our worldviews were colliding and clashing inconclusively. He gave me arguments for the strange things he said he believed in, the decisiveness of brute considerations. And of course, that's part of kind of what sounds often like a Freudianism, that's just what's really at the bottom of everything. It's certainly part of Marxism.
Yes.
The economic substratum is what drives everything. The ideas and high culture are merely epiphenomena, tossed off by the material dynamics. And you argue about those things a lot, and with no resolution. I know you comment somewhere, I didn't read it now, but that Plato talks about the arguments between the gods and the giants.
Yes.
That it's easier for the gods to be made to look foolish, or to ridicule the gods. It's easier for the giants to ridicule the gods than the other way around.
Yes.
And you're kind of in that mode.
Yeah.
Yours can sound like illusions, as the worldly wise in an earlier part of this discussion. The worldly wise said, "Oh, you're naive. Your innocence is an illusion. Your idealism, your romantic ideals are illusions."
Yeah.
And I hear you keep saying those illusions are better and in some fundamental way truer than your reductionisms and materialisms and worldly wise,
Yeah.
disillusionment.
Yeah. It's like there's a scene in Plato's Republic where a guy named Thrasymachus comes on the scene. They're trying to define justice, and he sort of bangs on the table, as it were, and says, justice is nothing but the self-interest of whoever is the stronger party. There is no abstract or ideal entity called justice. It's the decorative name given in the battle, in the combat of life. And Socrates says, if I had not seen this wolf before he saw me, I would have been turned to stone, alluding to a myth that if a wolf sees you first, you can get, or maybe a certain kind of wolf, you can get paralyzed, you can get um, turned to stone, uh, and uh, it's one of the features of the argument I had with Phidias. Unfortunately, unlike Socrates, I hadn't seen this wolf before he saw me. I was meeting him for the first time.
And you couldn't have. Paris is new to you. This whole
Yeah,
domain, old to
yeah,
him, new to you.
yeah,
This is a wolf that's lived in Paris for a number of years
yeah,
and learned the arts, its erotic arts. And
yeah.
you're an American girl, showing up, and no chance. It saw you way before you saw it in this
Oh,
case.
yeah.
Yeah,
God, he,
yeah,
he sort of knew me coming and going. I had no idea.
yeah.
No, I didn't know him.
Yeah.
And certainly not on this level.
And you didn't see each other much after this.
Mm.
You were unresolved. You couldn't go with them. You couldn't go apart from him entirely.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
you would see each other on the streets sometime. But you're about to leave, I think, in
yes.
in the next thing I'm going to cite. Um, and I guess you arrange a last meeting or something.
Mhm.
Then I caught sight of Phidias running lightly down the milling boulevard. He kissed me like quicksilver, and my heavy head of hair bent under his dominion.
Mm.
Now, I don't know anyone who would dare write such a thing today.
Yeah,
They would get in trouble with whoever makes trouble if you say the wrong thing about women. Well, here you're using for a man the notion of dominion. And what did
yeah,
you mean by that? Obviously, he didn't quite have dominion. I can't live with you. I've got to
yeah,
leave, and so on. So you got your wits about you and you're thinking at the highest level about this and taking it in, processing it. But nevertheless, it comes to you naturally to say uh, that your heavy head of hair bent under his dominion.
it's it's the erotic ADOS, the idea. There's a statue by, I guess, Rodin, The Kiss. The woman's not on top of the man. They're embracing. It's very lyrical. It's very harmonious, but um, the man dominates the embrace, and the woman receives it, and line me up against the wall and shoot me. But that experience of being enveloped and triumphed over, not sadistically, not masochistically. It's the sort of erotic, it's the triumph of Eros. And in the biblical story, Adam and Eve get expelled from the garden, and a set of new constraints is expressed by God, and he's going to have dominion over her. She's going to have a lot of trouble with childbirth. He's going to have to sweat to make $1 or whatever they had then. And it's asymmetrical. People want symmetry. Utilitarians say greatest happiness for the greatest number, each person to count for one. Eros doesn't count that way. There's an asymmetry built into Eros, the human Eros. An animal couples with the male with the female, and she trots off, shakes herself, and, as you were, pair of felines or whoever you are. In a man-woman situation, that's not the case. And when these couples, these educated college kids, do this to relax, oh no, sweetheart, it's not to relax. That's not. You're taking something for another purpose. You could take a canvas and some paints and just write Kilroy was here on them, but that's not what the canvas and the paints are calling for somebody to do. No. There's an inherent teleology. There's a Eros in many things. A plant wants to find the sun. I don't want to go on and sound like a poor poet, but there is a musician, a composer. This piece wants to be composed, and I don't get a vote. I have to cooperate. The right note has to come over the previous note. A painter is listening for the right line, the right color. Lovers have to hear the choreography of the man-woman connection. And even in as unpromising a setting as Phidias and I had, there was still a recognizable choreography that had its own claims.
Well, would this be correct? You think that the dynamics of erotic desire, you might say the male desires to do it with the woman, possess the woman, it's often said. The woman, as we've talked earlier, the woman wants to be desired, and you're so pleased when he sees you naked that there's just desire written all over him, transcendent desire written all over his face. You're not looking exactly to possess him, right? But that's what he's looking to do to you.
Yes.
And in that particular kind of dance, I wonder if a word like dominion has its place. Not dominion in the sense of beating you up at night or any of that kind of stuff, insulting you, degrading you, but some other kind of erotic nuance, you might say.
Yeah. It's a celebration of the sex difference, of the he and she character of human life. Human beings are not the same as other species. We have words, we have memory that is fixed in words for return and review and reinterpretation. So erotic connection is fraught with meanings that we didn't invent. We recognize, we come to coincide with them, and I don't think human culture has I don't know if it can, but our sort of unisex solution to the problem simply denies these mutual realities. Well, that doesn't solve it. Suppose you're tending a lawn and that's work. Well, you could pave it over with concrete, then you wouldn't have the work with the lawn, but you wouldn't have what you have concealed. So I think our purported liberation is concealment. And I'm not trying to support some reactionary, return to the bad news of free feminist American or Western civilization. But I think there's this denuding of the erotic mysteries of life has robbed young men and women of important experiences that they have an inborn right to. So,
Yeah. And for you, that fundamental stratum of reality is truer, I gather, than all of these, might say, theories that people produce.
Yeah. It was a discovery. My friend Harper said about me later that I walked around the left bank, that neighborhood, looking awed. I was awed. There was something I had perhaps guessed might be real that I now knew was real.
Yeah, yeah. You'd seen enough of the real thing in your relation with Phidias that you knew the real thing was true, was real.
Yeah, was realer than all this unisex good sportsmanship and palsmanship and whatever we Americans thought was the truth about boys and girls. I thought, no, there's another truth.
Well, wonderful, sweetheart. It's so good to you to talk about all of this, both painful and illuminating, because you left Paris wiser to go about quest for wisdom. Well, you had a lot of wisdom now, this wisdom based on real life experience that you did not have when you first got off the boat landing in France.
Yeah.
So that's an acquisition.
Sadder, wiser girl. I wanted Paris to teach me what it knew, and I guess you could say I got what I wanted, though it was so much not unwanted in the form it took. But you can't always, choose your story. You can be chosen by it.
What becomes clear is that these experiences are not isolated, but part of a larger reality that is rarely spoken aloud. See you next episode or sooner at dearabby-nonadvice.com.
Thanks so much, dear listener. If this added value to your life, I'd be happy if you subscribed. You can find me at www.abigailrosenthal.com. I've written a book called A Good Look at Evil, and if that's not too scary for you, you can buy it on Amazon. Another book is called Confessions of a Young Philosopher, and that's forthcoming soon with illustrations.